All right, all right, all right. A rough one, my brother. On a night where the defense actually showed up, provided 10 points for the offense. They actually created turnovers. I know that in the end they were kind of manhandled because they aren't better, but they did do something. They actually created something. But it was rough to watch because the offense, whether I'm talking the Chargers last year and the Niners, and then I'm looking at the Bills this year, and now I'm looking at this, and some of these big moments, Mike McDaniel and the offense have just not been able to come through, and that was kind of tough today because I can almost argue that you almost had enough defense to win this game if the offense actually showed up.
Yeah, Big O, this was one of the things that we spoke about, is that this was a Dolphins team where you were worried about the defense more than you were worried about the offense going into this, right? And now you leave this game worried about the offense more than you're worried about the defense a little bit. This game obviously turned for me, Tyreek Hill when he missed that touchdown grab. And at the end of the day, look, you live and die with Tyreek Hill. That you die on that hill because he's your best player, and you kind of have to take that on the chin with him there too. But that was a play that changed the game for me because if Tyreek Hill catches that ball and scores in the end zone, now the Eagles defense is just like, man, the Dolphins are starting. That would have been the moment the Dolphins would have imposed their will on the game, right? It would have been tied up. Who knows if you would have had the pick six by Jerome Baker, the play after, it probably would have been not happened. You know what I'm saying? But one of those plays happened. It needed to be on the offense for that, for the Eagles players to know, hey, Tyreek Hill is on this field. He's the best player on this field, and nobody's stopping him. I think from a psyche mindset standpoint, that really hurt the Dolphins there. And then the Eagles imposed their will on their final drive of the game. Kader Kohu had a stop on A.J. Brown, a yard short. It was a long yard. And Nick Sirianni, for some reason, called a timeout. I guess he didn't know how far the yard was. I guess he thought it was longer in space. But he calls a timeout and then brings the offense back on the field when they send the punt team out. That was a big moment too, man. It looked like Nick Sirianni was going to soil himself in the big moment of the game and just give it back to the Dolphins offense, right? But he didn't. The Eagles kept that drive for the rest of the game, and then they imposed their will on that drive specifically, to win this game and win by 2 scores. Offense going to get no run game going. Hassan Reddick was a menace. Everything to the right side, the edge. The tight end was missing every block. Austin Jackson was okay, but it was another player's job to block the edge rusher, and they didn't do it.
Right, Hill. I mean, they kind of like took turns screwing it up. Yeah,
definitely, and goal too. Then the only time Raheem Mostert got running was when Reddick wasn't in the game in that third quarter. At that one point in the game, but 11 points from the offense total in this game, not enough, not acceptable. Obviously, couldn't get the run going, and when they figured that out, they couldn't get the run going. They were still running a little bit, which I didn't like from Mike McDaniel's standpoint. But I think my big takeaway here is I'm not, as much as I want to, build, just crush down the Dolphins and bring them back to earth and kind of say, they're not this, they're not that. They're playing without Teron Armstead, they're playing without Connor Williams, and those are 2 guys who you need up front when you're in a game like this where the Eagles' defensive line is so talented and they have the opportunity to impose their will in this game. The Dolphins are playing without 4 really big players at least. A-Chain, Armstead, Williams, X was out, and then Ramsey was out. You know what I'm saying? This team is going to be a lot different in December.
The only thing I want to warn people is I know that, but who else is going to be out when those guys come back? This is football, dude.
Yeah.
It doesn't exist, the perfection where everybody's – I hope it happens. But
you're right.
David Long left today.
Yeah.
And
Van Ginkel was out of position too.
Yeah, you had 2 guys collide. One came back. The other one didn't. And I don't know what happened to David Long. And does he have a concussion? Is he out a week? Is he out a day? Is he out 5 weeks? Because concussions are absolutely unpredictable how they're going. So to keep that's the only thing that I just want to warn people: stop using that as a crutch, because this is a brutal game. So you might get one guy back, and you might lose another one or two. And so, whatever the option, it's like, see, the thing today was, even if
Your mic's cutting out a little bit, Big O.
oh, it is. I'm sorry. Can you
No,
hear me
you're
now?
good. You're perfect. Yeah, perfect.
Okay. So tonight,
Don't use it as a crutch because
tonight you couldn't bully the bully.
yeah, of course.
Last week, the Jets had no offense, but they bullied the bully. And that have something that Miami doesn't have on that defense. That defense of the Jets is nasty, that it can play. It's so good that it frustrated the hell out of Jalen Hurts. It turned him over. It did all that stuff. And that is an element that, if they're healthy, do they have that?
Yeah, there's a big difference between Aaron Donald, obviously. Yes, there's a big difference between Quincy Williams with the Jets, or Quinn and Williams, excuse me, with the Jets. There's a big difference with Jalen Carter with the Eagles, and then you have Christian Wilkins on the spectrum of that here. Christian Wilkins was awful today. The play where he got the roughing the passer call on Jalen Hurts. The ref, sure, the retired ref said it was not a play, but Christian Wilkins, it was the one moment in the game where he got close to the quarterback and he took his hit and he paid for it. The Eagles scored on that drive, right?
Yeah,
you look at the rest of this game. Christian Wilkins is not even, he's lining up in the neutral zone, right? Literally, his hands are right here. And every time they did the tush push, the Dolphins, like, they played that horribly. Every time the tush push play was there because they thought getting lower was going to help them stop it. And literally, the Eagles offensive lineman just went on top of them and continued pushing forward.
It jumps over the entire thing.
Yeah, Holland jumped for no reason. Like, there's nothing to jump for. The play's done. And Jalen Hurts has no reason to rush or anything because, he takes a couple steps and he doesn't have to worry because there's three people behind him pushing him after that.
But
right?
Nobody stops that. So,
yeah, nobody's stopping that play. But they played it horribly. They played it horribly. And then, and it's just really unfortunate because, they on the last drive of the game, you thought they had them multiple times. They were 3rd and 1, 3rd and 1, 3rd and 1. It's the worst down to have the Eagles in offensively. It's 3rd and 1 and 4th and 1 because they go and pick up 3 yards every time they do the touch push play.
Yeah.
Look, I thought they played Hurts pretty well. He didn't run as much as I thought he was going to run. DeAndre Swift had a big impact in the game in the first half, not there in the second half. But the last play to A.J. Brown obviously was the A.J. Brown touchdown, and then the A.J. Brown, the last play where Kohu and another player just couldn't get a hold of him, and he's inside the 10. Those were 2 really big plays. Those were the plays that the Dolphins needed Tyreek Hill to make. And Tyreek Hill didn't make the one play that he had, and they would have definitely had another opportunity to make another one if they were in a better position late in that fourth quarter.
Isaiah Wynn gets injured. That's another guy. That's what I'm telling you. This game is, and
yeah, definitely.
That's why you just can't. And how about special teams, dude? It just, man, you get the big return on them. What there was another bad special teams play too in this game, but that's all these kind of things added up to everything that you had going on. You got out physical. You had way too many penalties. You made the brutal interception for Tua. Unfortunately, that was as much as I'm a Tua guy, a reek drop. Sometimes there were a couple penalties that called back a couple of big plays.
A couple of penalties. There was nothing but penalties in this game, Big O. And they all went to the Dolphins. None of them went to the Eagles. None of them went to the Eagles. The Eagles were not penalized at all this game.
No, not at all.
It was ridiculous. If you want to complain about the refs, I mean, this is the time right now because I'll do it for you guys. Cedric Wilson face mask should have happened. Raheem Mostert went to it through the pick, should have happened. That play is another play in particular because Waddle has an option and he ran right into Mostert, and that's why Slay got the play to intercept the interception play there too. But
somebody ran a wrong route there on that one.
Yeah, it was Waddle. Waddle had an opportunity to go in or out, and he in the same direction where the real route was going. there too. The refs were horrible in this game. Don't get me wrong. Christian Wilkins deserved all the flags he got. Some other players definitely deserve them on the O line. But in the those two big penalties that I just mentioned, the Mostert one, and then Cedric Wilson, it's just criminal how the refs treated the Dolphins in this one. Everybody was wearing Kelly Green, even the guys in stripes tonight, and you look like it looked like the Dolphins really had a chance to just prove everybody wrong. And man, that Tyreek Hill touchdown was just everything. It would have been everything. He would have had two on the game. He would have imposed his will. He would have elevated him into his MVP profile a little bit in that one there too. Um, but look, the Dolphins they're soft when it comes to these physical teams, man. The Bills, they can't stay toe to toe with them, and the Eagles really, really on them, especially late in that fourth quarter.
It's almost like when Jalen Carter runs over Isaiah Wynn at the beginning of the game was like there is, you know,
Everything you needed to know, right?
a microcosm of what's about to come, right? That just a little
Yeah.
piece of what you're about to witness tonight. And it just kind of felt that way right from the get-go. By the way, there are bright spots in this. David Long played his ass off before, he got injured. I was really impressed with him. Cedric Wilson was needed today. He made some plays, actually,
Yeah,
bro.
Cedric Wilson is going to be a big part of the team going forward, man. Two plays, big catch, 29 yards down the sideline too. Kohu played well. He did well, considering the matchup.
Yeah,
He didn't get torched like Diggs. Like he played better. He played AJ Brown better than he played Stephon Diggs because he was able to get that guy on the ground. It was just a touchdown play where Van Ginkel was out of position. That's where David Long or Jerome Baker were supposed to be, right? And
yeah.
then and then the play at the end of the
Well,
game where they took it inside the
Cole
10.
Cole didn't commit a bunch of penalties too, because that's kind of his thing. He's so handsy that he
Yeah.
commits penalties, and that was really good today. That he actually stayed away from it. But I was happy for Cedric Wilson because he actually showed up. I thought David Long showed up in a big time way, dude. So there
Yeah,
was
definitely.
bad when he left, dude. That
I
was
did too. Jerome had probably a better game than a lot of other people did. Jalen Phillips showed up very well as well. Jalen Phillips, the pressure that he applied, is the reason why this game was as close as it was. You didn't really get a good play from Bradley Chubb or Wilkins like you would want it to. Van Ginkel, you didn't really see him flash in this game either. But Jerome Baker was all over the field. Even Holland, I didn't really see much of Holland
we
in
got to
this one either.
we have to give Jalen Hurts credit because every time he bought himself time back there, it was impossible for them to stay with everybody. So the Chubb, like you mentioned, there were a couple times that Chubb was right there, dude.
Yeah, and he just had that little bit of time. He just didn't have it.
Just could not get there. I saw Steeler close at times. I saw Wilkins close at times. But we have to give, at one point you have to also give credit to the other guy. And
Yeah,
Jalen Hurts
definitely.
magnificent job of extending plays and always finding the open guy in the end. And that's why the kid's a hell of a player.
Yeah, man. Jalen Hurts has really figured out his game in the NFL. He's got set up with Nick Sirianni right now. There's no, oh, we need to go get another quarterback after year one, after year two, right? There's none
Yeah.
of any of that. Everybody's bought in on Hurts, and he's deserved it with his play. You look at everything today, too, man. A.J. Brown, obviously, 10 catches, 137 yards, touchdown. Goddard, 5 catches, 77 yards. The tight ends always give the Dolphins problems. Devontae Smith didn't make that big of an impact. 4 catches, 49 yards, but had a big 25-yarder. Um, offensively, they did what they were supposed to do. You know what the Eagles were going to do offensively. This is how they were going to attack you. This is how they made it work. I like the fact that the Dolphins didn't, Devontae Smith didn't have a bigger role in this game. That would have been, back breaking a little bit more, but there was some back breaking plays in this game. And it was the Tyreek touchdown for me. And it was also the end of the game as well on that last drive where they went up 2 scores late and the Dolphins ran out of time.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, listen, this was a complete team loss. That's the beauty of all of this. You can point to a ton of crap, that went on here, and that's why they ended up losing. By the way, you ended up seeing the Tua documentary.
Yeah, I saw it again. I remember watching it during the draft. It didn't the title and all that didn't I didn't recall when we spoke about it earlier this week, but I watched it last night. Really well done before the draft on Tua. And just watching it before this game, Big O, I thought Tua was up, man. I thought Tua was gonna light it up. I thought he was gonna sun Jalen Hurts again, and he didn't. Jalen Hurts got the best out of that guy for once. I love how it's funny. You didn't notice that Tua got hurt in that SEC title game the next year, and Jalen Hurts came in from him. That part wasn't mentioned in the documentary, and obviously
Right.
not because it's a Tua documentary. Um, but that the storyline is there because of the Nick Saban's most important championship was that championship, the one where Tua came in, right? For him to make that call, the greatest college coach of all time, he is
Yeah,
that coach because he has
that
that title, right?
was a ballsy
And I
call.
don't,
Yes.
and I think Tua likes Jalen Hurts more than Jalen Hurts likes Tua. They're not best friends. They're not BFFs. They, said last year that they were like exchange some info here and there on playing the same opponents, and Jalen Hurts actually offered that up. But they're not calling each other. They're not, reuniting or anything like that. Even when they met each other on the field after the game, was seeking out Hurts. It didn't feel like Hurts was seeking out Tua, and the interaction was pretty quick too. So I think Hurts obviously has some animosity, maybe because of the fact that he made the guy move to Oklahoma, and his college career changed for him because everything went downhill for him after Tua went in that won the title.
Yeah.
So I can obviously see the relationship there and things like that. But yeah, I did see the Tua documentary. It was great. What was also great was Michael Smith's interviews with Tua on
Yeah.
NBC.
Yeah. Michael did
That
an
was too.
and Tua
Um,
again, his openness, which sometimes it's held against him because people use it against him in a way when he's actually trying to educate you on where he's coming from, and so you can understand. And I thought his openness too, talking about how his situation used to be under Flores, even though he didn't say Flores,
he
and
will
the help
never. He will
and the
never
help,
say it.
yeah, and the help he's gotten to along the way, off the field, and all that, and on the and in the locker room with his teammates. Um, Brutal honesty. I loved it, bro. Loved it.
Yeah, Tua will never ever say Brian Flores' name. But everything Tua has said, everybody else has been made. Everybody can infer very easily what happened and what didn't happen. And even Tua, there was times where he wanted to say some things and he didn't because he
Right.
realized what he was going to say. So the Dolphins have a kid with his head on his shoulders. It's a great thing to see because he's really coming into his own in this game, in this season, in this year. I thought in this Eagles game, even sometimes stuff like that kind of showed. Every time they showed him on the sideline after the Eagles scored, he wasn't really too pressured or anything. He was excited to kind of go back out there and play. Um, the Dolphins had to take this one on the chin, man. That's kind of plain and simple. They took it on the chin on the field. They got to take it and really know deep down. They got to figure out how they're going to beat these great teams because you said something earlier. This is not the Dolphins are not beating teams that are on the same level as us. They're beating teams that are very, very below them. The Dolphins just have to get out of that tier 2 and get into the tier 1. And they're right on the cusp. Hopefully Armstead and Connor Williams come back this year. Hopefully Ramsey and X come back as well. Hopefully the injuries like you speak about that we don't know of, hopefully they don't happen, or when they do happen, you're okay with that. But this team has a lot of good pieces, right? I don't want to write the Dolphins off just yet, but they have valid questions. Their toughness needs to be
McDaniel has to
questioned.
grow a little bit. McDaniel has to grow a little bit as a play caller in these
Sure.
tight moments, in these big
Yeah.
games. He's got to do better, bro. He's got to do
Yeah,
better.
definitely. He has to do better. Like I said, I don't want to write the Dolphins off all the way completely. They're
No.
missing some pieces. Mike needs to grow a little bit. Two in the offense, they need to figure it out too, especially all those guys on the lower end of the roster. Chase Claypool, Julian Hill, all these guys that are learning this offense for the first time, they really need to learn how to block and make this sing like it did against the Broncos, man.
Why?
Every time you lose one lineman or one person here or there, all of the continuity is messed up.
dude, why no Chase Claypool? Why not a little package for him? Why not just set him down a sideline, throw a little alley-oop to his ass?
That's what Cedric Wilson's for, man. That's what Cedric Wilson was for.
Bro, Tua's the guy. Like, see, when you used to go to the park, right? All right. So normally, let's see, there's 6, 8 guys, 10 guys. You're playing a 3-on-3, 4-on-4, 5-on-5. Rarely did you have 2 good quarterbacks amongst that group, right? Usually there was one guy who was a pretty good quarterback, and the other guy was just kind of, maybe he was an athlete or whatever. And so you really wanted to be on the side with the quarterback. And the guy that's a quarterback, right, he can show up to the park and go to a stranger's park and say, man, nobody's playing in my park. Let me go to the park over in the next neighborhood. And there's 7 kids there. They need somebody. Hey, can I play? Great. He's never played with those guys. And he's just with that one kid, he says, yeah, go on and just take off. And bloop, he drops it right in front of him. That's Tua, bro. Play Chase Claypool. Send his ass down.
Yeah, they should have.
Pitch up like an A.J. Brown. Let's go.
They should have. They should have. They should have done a lot of things in this game, man. But look, the Dolphins they're still in great position. The Bills lost today. Thank you, New England. Thank you, Mike Gesicki. Mike Gesicki with the game-winning touchdown. Mike Gesicki ended the Patriots' run with Tom Brady and Bill Belichick, and now he's helping the Dolphins out even more, right? So look, you stayed ahead of the Bills in the division, which is great. You got the Patriots next week, right? That's the game next week?
Yes.
All right. Well, they're not going to be a tough out. They're going to be a tough out. They're not going to be an easy out, but you're better than them. So back on the saddle again, man. And, and then this is the Germany game.
What's the plan right now for the injuries? When does Teron Armstead come back?
Teron's going to miss the Chiefs game. He's got about 2 more games, I believe.
Okay.
A-Chain has probably 2 more games as well, but he was after Armstead getting hurt. Ramsey has 14 more days for his window, or at least
he plays the Chiefs. He plays the Chiefs game.
We'll see. And then who else? X, you might. I'd rest X next week. Have him 100% for the Chiefs game.
Okay.
You worried about Mac Jones or any of those receivers they have?
No.
Me and you could go lock up Kendrick Bourne and Devontae Parker right now.
Now you're pushing it.
I would rest X next week too.
Right,
I'm not. Patriots did good, but I'm not scared of them next week. Dolphins gonna get a win and bounce back, and we'll have this conversation all over again, like we did with the Bills, with the Eagles, when it's Chiefs week.
Safid, USA Today, Deen. What do you got going on?
Yes, sir. It's a football podcast coming out on Tuesday. Tyler Dragon's my co-host. He's gonna give it to me that the Dolphins lost this week. I'm gonna take it on the chin as well, and we'll continue talking about the rest of the NFL. Looking forward to the week coming up. Big O, I'll see you on Tuesday again as well, man.
You got it, my brother. You be good. Have a great night.
You too, man.
Thank you, sir. There you go, Safid Deen, and our BaptistHealth.net/ortho Miami Dolphins post-game report. And of course, when we talk about Baptist Health, you don't need to be a professional athlete to go where the pros go. The doctors at Baptist Health Orthopedic Care can see you now. Visit BaptistHealth.net/ortho to request an appointment and get yourself back in the game. The staff at Baptist Health Orthopedic Care is comprised of highly specialized, board-certified, and fellowship-trained orthopedic physicians supported by advanced practice providers and athletic trainers, all of whom play a vital role in the patient's experience. Baptist Health Orthopedic Care has locations from Monroe County to Palm Beach County, baby. Make sure you go see them there, whether you're in Marathon Key, Tavernier, Boynton Beach, Boca, Kendall, you name it. There it is. Use the QR code. Tell them that Big O sent you. BaptistHealth.net/ortho.
This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.